97 now because the river's so low. Mississippi River plays an effect on us, even though it's so far away. The Gulf Current runs from Texas to Florida. Everything comes out the river, goes east, and we're in that diluted water. So the Mississippi River plays a factor in the distance our fish are offshore, and I say offshore, meaning out from where we're launching. And I'm talking about the release area.
The water was green right here in New Orleans, and the fish were on fire down there in this area. We were catching trout, big trout, in the river itself. First and second spillway.
Yeah, I just read something where the Corps of Engineers is worried about the saltwater wedge. Saltwater is more dense than fresh water. So in the Mississippi River, when it gets really low, the tide will pull the saltwater in underneath the fresh water. Well, there's a lot of communities that pull water out of the river for their tap water and pull it from closer to the bottom. So they're considering putting like a weir down on the bottom of the river to block that wedge and catch the fresh water on the top. Crazy scenario. The thing I can tell you when you're trying to figure out what's the right salinity, right? How do I look at the water and tell, is it salty enough for me to catch trout in the summer, right? Spawn's just about over. Salinity is going to go out the window. They don't care what the salinity is. That instinct is gone once their spawning is done. But when I'm going out in the summer and I'm looking for trout, I want to see jellyfish. And that's going to be salty enough water. You talk to a shrimper, and he'll tell you if he drags his net, he doesn't catch any shrimp, but he catches jellyfish, he'll stay in that area. If he doesn't catch any jellyfish, he's moving out. He's going towards the Gulf, towards saltier water. So those things kind of fit together. Jellyfish. We caught jellyfish yesterday in 9 Mile. I mean, I could see them in the water.
What kind of bait you use to catch jellyfish?
I just saw it. I told my customer, all you need now is a peanut butter fish, we'll have lunch.
Mike, I got a question for you. When, it gets like real good, trolling the trestles, that's not in the summer, it's later. And what, salinity doesn't matter because they're not spawning. So when these guys are catching off of these trolling, it's still low salinity, it's not really high.
Right.
Around the boat.
Yeah, there used to be, I don't know if this site is up anymore, there used to be the Lake Pontchartrain Basin Foundation had a website, I saw a picture of it, that you could, is that still around?
I think it's dead. I just looked at it, they had a site, I think it was at, where it showed the salinity, and it showed the wedge coming in, and it showed it coming in at along the, out by the L&M Bridge and that, it started to wedge in a little bit there. It also started to wedge in by the Seabrook Bridge.
Yeah.
Seems like those two areas were the areas where the wedge started to come in.
I don't go by the rocks at Shell Beach, it's too far away. But I hear that those rocks are porous, so the water does flow through them. So you may get some salinity, and it doesn't make it all the way up to the wall and then into Seabrook.
So, this is another question I got. So I saw y'all catch flounder and stuff, mixed into trout a lot of times, around the trout. So I remember years back, around October, you had like a spawn of flounder. You catch a lot of them. All of a sudden, that just went away. Does the wall have anything to do with that? Or?
A lot of us, me included, thought this, right? So we thought that the BP oil spill had a big effect on flounder. A male flounder lives in the Gulf and the female's in the marsh. And she migrates out during the fall of the year to do the spawning. And what we thought, and I'm gonna prove myself wrong, but what we thought was that oil floating on the surface. They sprayed what they told you was dispersant. All it was something that attached to the oil and make it no longer float. Well, if it goes to the bottom, who's on the bottom? The male flounder. So it doesn't matter if you kill off all the males or all the females, they still don't reproduce. So that's what we thought. But the same problem with low production was in Texas and in Florida. So it's just a cycle. It just seems to be a cycle. And they're coming back. I've had some 24-inch flounder, 2-3 of them in the last month. Had a 25-inch flounder, August, 18th.
Or the bigger trout coming back, because in my opinion, most of the bigger trout in the pound, whatever, from Chandelier all the way up to Lake Pontchartrain, to right there by Seabrook. All of that went away also.
The hydrology changed when you put those rock dams and wall across. So, look, I can only speculate, right? So I tell captains, you in the marsh and you lost. Or anybody. You guys in the marsh and you cruise around and you come to a bayou, right and left. I don't know where I'm at, so I don't know which way to go. Figure out where the water's traveling fastest. That's going to be the deeper water, heading towards another open body of water. Do fish do the same thing? I have no idea. I have no clue, but they don't get lost. But if their hydrology changes, right? If they were following, you know, I'm going to cut that story off right there, and I'm going to say a lot of times we don't use all of our senses, right? We've all got sense of smell, hearing, sight. If you hear a train, you're not going to look up. I used to do audio. I can tell you, our hearing is very good from left to right, extremely good from left to right. But our hearing's not very good up and down. But you're trained, if you hear a train, you're not looking up. You hear an airplane, you're looking up. So I try to put myself in the place of a fish. Now, if we get told to go find somebody in a 100-story building, and one of these doors we open is covered in smoke, we're going to close that door and go somewhere else. Oh, he's not in there. What about a fish? I'm looking for high salinity. I'm going down the bayou. I turn this way. It's not as salty. I need to go that way. So they rely completely on their instincts. And we've got GPSs and phones and people telling us where to go and how to catch them. So we don't rely on it as much as we should. But I think positive. Fish definitely rely on their instincts. So when he gets to a bayou, it's going left or right. I think it matters if he's spawning or she, going to go towards salty water. And if it's October, it doesn't matter. We're going to follow the bait, and we're going to eat as much as possible. As your photo period gets shorter, right, amount of daylight gets shorter, instinctively they know what we're going to be able to eat is going to get less. Be fewer opportunities to feed. So they're stocking up in this period of time now till that water temperature gets close to 50. They just eat everything in sight. They're trying to replace lost weight from spawning. Spawning is apparently a gruel, a grind on these fish. You look at our top 10 speckled trout. Most of them caught in the spring. They fattened up through the winter and early spring. You rarely have a top 10 fish caught in September. Most of your top 10s are going to be females. The females are bigger than males. So they'll gain weight from now till spring, and in that grind of spawning, and the biologists tell us they'll spawn every 7 to 21 days. So just eat, spawn, eat, spawn, eat, spawn. It's a continuous
That's
thing.
all year?
That-
21 days or just in all summer?
That is when our water temperatures are 68 degrees and above.
Okay.
So it'll start in probably May,
What, 58,
68.
68?
Right. And a peak, trout will peak spawning at 77 degrees. Now, look, I learned all of this back in the late 90s, and some things have changed, right? I just learned in the last 2 weeks that the sex of a flounder is determined by water temperature. Now, most of us probably know the sex of an alligator is determined by the temperature in the nest, whether it's male or female. Well, apparently flounders the same way. I live across the street from biologists. He just moved in about a year ago. But we're gonna be friends. I don't know if he knows it yet, but we're gonna be friends.
But you gotta explain that flounder depending on the water.
Yeah, whether it's gonna be male or female.
Oh, whether the offspring is going.
Exactly.
Okay.
Right.
Wow.
We can't even figure it out with humans,
You know,
huh?
so maybe me learning 25 years ago that trout start spawning at 68 degrees with a peak at 77, maybe that's not accurate anymore, right? When I started guiding, somewhere somebody told me you could call Wildlife and Fisheries and get a biological profile on any species of fish that had limits on it. They've studied those fish. I was fortunate to be part of the triple tail study. It started in 2004. They put limits out in 2014. They studied that fish for 10 years. So really extensive studies on those fish. I believe there was a lab on Grand Isle where they have tanks. And they have male and female trout in there. And they can adjust the light. They can adjust the temperature. They can adjust the salinity and see when those fish spawn. So they've done all of these variables to come up with when they'll spawn, salinities they like to spawn in, a peak in spawning activity. So really they study them quite a bit. I do remember when I got my biological profile, which unfortunately I lost in Hurricane Katrina, but I highlighted things that I needed to know. There would literally be a 8 by 10 sheet of paper, in this pamphlet, and they would have 50 different biologists from the 30s all the way to the 90s. And it said they figured out the salinity needs to be 17 to 23 parts per thousand. Had all of those guys listed. Like it's not, once you figure it out, we move forward. They just kept verifying it over and over and over and over. I thought it was a bit redundant myself, but it was really interesting to see. I remember, you guys got me thinking, I do remember they talked about seine netting fish in Lake Pontchartrain, and they kill them, come over, check the stomach content, and there was a type of pink shrimp. You didn't hear of anybody fishing pink lures in early 2000, but after I read that, I got a pink lures are always available in the store because nobody's buying them, right? I was using bass lures, but I caught fish on pink lures. The shrimpers tell you when the legs on the shrimp are red, they're moving a lot, but they'll sort of look pinkish. So now, it just said there was a pink shrimp in this profile, so I don't have I just went by the color pink to sort of work my way through it. Any other question? Good. Don't make me nervous.
I got a question.
You mentioned triple.
I actually could talk fish
He
for all
got
day.
a question.
You mentioned triple tail.
I've been having a hard time. Triple tail. How far out do you have to go to catch it?
So when I did that study, when I was part of that study, which for me got interrupted with Katrina, lost my home, I had bigger fish to fry, right? But they sent me out a packet, and I had these little vials with like an oily solution in it, and they give me a pamphlet, and it's a drawing of a triple tail, and I don't remember if I cut the fifth fin, so there's the three tails, right? Upper, I think it's anal fin, tail fin, caudal, I don't know. What is it?
Caudal.
Caudal. Something like that. But the bottom fin, I think it had like 11 spines on it, and I had to get the fifth spine. And I don't remember if I counted from the body down or the bottom of the tail up. But that fifth fin, I could break that one off and put it in that little vial and write down on a card where I caught this fish, what the temperature was, and my GPS location. And I'd send that to them. And from that fin, they could tell male or female and the age of the fish. Now, when I got back to the dock, if I just had one, when I got back to the dock and I was cleaning it, I could fill in it had eggs or no eggs. But other than that, I didn't know how to tell whether it was male or female. And then I'd ship that information off to, this was a study done by USM, and they have a laboratory in Ocean Springs. But the majority, I probably turned in 30 of those things, and they were all between the Wrigley's and Half Moon. Because I don't find triple tail enough to target them. A lot of fuel, driving all over the place, just so. But if I'm fishing in 9 Mile and I'm on my way back, it's really not out of my way very far to veer toward the Pearl River, pick up a line of crab traps, and follow them to the Wrigley's. So I would do that, and if I saw one, I'd stop and try to catch it. And that's why the majority of the fish that I turned in were always in that area. That's got to be relatively fresh water by the mouth of the Pearl River, or fresher.
So you are seeing them between 9 Mile and Pearl River, though, right?
I mean, you used to see a lot of them.
Yeah, now I've caught them further out in years since then.
Yeah, that's what I was just wondering, if I'm gonna go run crab traps, where it's going.
Now, I can tell you the earliest I've ever caught one was May, and it was 2006, the year after Katrina, and the water temperature was 74 degrees. And the latest I've ever caught one was October, and consequently the water temperature was 73 degrees. But it seems like they like those warmer temperatures. I know the guys in Venice will catch them later, but the Gulf of Mexico is a bigger body of water. It stays warmer longer than our shallow lakes in our area. But they do seem to be, there's either more of them around or more people fishing.
More fish fishing.
But you can find them at, this is the key, anything breaking the surface. Doesn't have to be a crab trap. It'd be a oyster lease pole. You know them white PVC poles that there's a million of them out around fishing smack? They'll hang out right behind those poles. I caught them under lily pads that floated out of the Pearl River. They'll change color. They'll look golden underneath those lily pads. Weird looking. Before they had limits, I think I caught 19 in one day. You know, it seems like when we have a hurricane that comes from the south, comes directly towards us from the south, you think of the spin of a hurricane, and you look at the Gulf from Tampa all the way to Lake Bourne, there's nothing. So Lake Bourne's like a dead end. And if that water's going in that direction with that wind, is it pushing those fish in? We probably caught 200 a year after Katrina. We probably got 200 of them. It was just a normal thing. On my way back from red fishing, if you see one, I caught them on suspending baits, I caught them on spoons, I caught them on spinner baits, whatever I had that they would bite on. You know, only thing, they're always going to be down current. I can't say always. They'll most of the time be down current from the trap. And I think that he gets so close to that trap, he looks like he's part of the trap or the float. And that way, bait being swept by doesn't think he's a fish. He's not really fast. They're powerful, but I wouldn't say they're fast in the water. So I think they sort of use that as camouflage. And it will go up and down the rope. Have you caught them?
No.
They got a real hard stomach. And when you're cleaning that guy, his stomach is hard, hard, hard. And I've seen them run into that crab float with their stomach. And there's probably a crab in that little hole that the rope is going through, and he's trying to knock it out of there. And I've also seen in their stomachs, you cleaning them, I cleaned one, the stomach's really, really full, and I cut it open, and it looks like a sweet potato. Just this orange mush. And I think that's the eggs off the back of a female crab that they ate. So it's all I don't know what it was. Unless there's some sort of a sea sponge down there that they're eating on. But mostly I see shrimp, crab. They're not too particular. I caught them on dead shrimp, live shrimp, a variety of lures, top water. I just, I'm driving 30 miles an hour and I pass one up, make a U-turn, come up from behind them, put the trolling motor down, kill the big motor, cast up current, and let that lure drift back. And I'm telling my customer, keep your feet under you, because as soon as you get hooked up, I'm pulling the boat away from the trap so he doesn't tangle in that rope. So I'm hard on the trolling motor one way or the other to try to pull them away. They're good to eat.
Oh, yeah.
They're really good to eat. Great fish. I don't know that it's plentiful enough for me to want to target it.
You can go out like bycatch.
John Fox, he was a workman's comp lawyer, and his brother Barry Fox was an architect. And they're both from Ocean Springs. They called them blackfish. They didn't call them. And they had these, the first time I saw one, I just saw a fish. I had no idea what it was. I had live shrimp on board. I cast over and caught it. First one I ever caught was 14 pounds. It was a good size, right? So I started learning about triple tails. And I got in that habit of following crab traps when I was learning some areas in the Biloxi Marsh. I ran aground. And I spent 3 hours waiting on the tide to come up. So I realized if I follow crab traps, the crabber's boat drafts more than mine. And I did it so much, it was a habit. I was doing it in the middle of Lake Bowen. And I see this, you can't help but see them. I mean, they're as big and black as your to-go box. You just see them sitting there like a flounder, laying sideways. Now, they'll also be vertical, but you'll see them sideways as well. If I see a fish, I'm going to try to catch it. I don't care if,
Hey, my
you know,
wife, most people from Mississippi.
Fresh. But they put these, someone will go out and sink a coffee can
Yeah, I've
or
heard-
something
yeah.
with a rope on it to a float, and they put a piece of burlap behind it. But it may just be a pool noodle, and it may, and they're very protective of it so that you may not see anything like a white crab trap you can see for a long time, a long way out. This one, you
right.
just have to find it.
yeah.
Pull up to it, set your power pole. I have to do it because I'm the only guy on the boat. And set my power pole, cast out with an open bail, shrimp, maybe something like this deep off of it. I have 2 rods, one about this deep, one about that deep. Let the tide take it right down by the rope. Cast on the other side, run down by the rope, pick up my other rod. If he's home, 4 casts, and then I move on. If he's home, and I'm casting maybe 20 feet, 30 feet. It's not a long cast. When he's home, and you see him float up and catch it, you just set that hook and
So they really don't weigh much. When a trout sucks that in, it can't weigh much. He sucks in a ½ ounce jig head, it weighs a ½ ounce. And he's gonna know it immediately. So I started, how can I still get to the bottom, but not have my presentation weigh a ½ ounce or 3/4 of an ounce? We fish at that L&M bridge and that tide's rolling. You need 3 ounces to get to the bottom. And them fish, you look at them, they're shaped like a bullet. The water doesn't affect him at all.
Yeah, he just
It affects us. We leave because we can't fish long before he leaves too much current, especially if the temperature's where you don't mind being in a current. So for years, and when I first started, everybody fished Carolina rigs. And I just looked at a Carolina rig and I just thought, I can't believe you can put a sinker between you and a fish. Hello? How does that fish not know? And look, it's an egg sinker. Now, I fished the Rucker rig, right, where you got a bank sinker and the line's going through it. Not quite as bad as the egg sinker. But, he bites that thing, he starts going this way, he's dragging that sinker. How long is he going to do that for? Something ain't right, spit it out. Something's not right, spit it out. If they're finicky enough to where all the bait in the water is 3 inches long, you fish them with a lure 4 inches long, they won't bite it. They're probably finicky enough to think something's wrong, this shrimp's heavier, I'm spitting him out. So I just never had a good feeling about the Carolina. And I think, when I was a kid, we fished at the rigs in the Gulf. We were not good fishermen. We fished at the rigs in the Gulf, and the rig you use at the Gulf is a drop shot rig. Sinker's on the bottom, and you got these legs off to the side, and we're catching croakers this big. My dad's trying to load the boat with them to offset the cost of that expensive 50 cents a gallon fuel. We didn't know how good we had it, right? But when I started saltwater fishing, I'm like, that's the rig. And and if you tie it with that three-way swivel, that thing will make a mess. It'll be all kind of tangled up. So I do the figure 8 knot at the top and a little leg off to the side. That was my rig. All the time, all the time, all the time. I'm on the bow of my boat. Every once in a while, I'll have customers that say, Captain, let me bait my own hook. Let me take the fish off.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, I didn't mean to offend you. I'm just doing my job. We got it, we got it. So then I'm supposed to sit around. So I'm on the bow of the boat, and I'm chunking my 3/8 jig out. This before Katrina, at the Twin Span in South Shore. Used to be a deep trough through there, 20 foot of water. And I'm casting, the tide's picking up speed, and I'll cast out and hit the bottom, bounce it, it's just gone. And I'm like, okay, go to a 1/2 ounce jig. But that only works for another half hour, and then too much current. Them guys are back there whacking them on live shrimp. So I always have spare rods right at my center console. So I look at my rod, and there's a drop shot rig sitting there. And I'm just thinking, why can't I put plastic on that hook, let that 1 ounce sinker take me to the bottom, catch it? Well, now's the time to try it. So I grab a Dudley, hook it in the nose, set it in the water, and look at it, and it's doing this. So I'm like, well, that ain't gonna work. So I grabbed the 1/4 ounce jig head, because the first one I grabbed. It sat in the water and just ran completely true. And I'm like, that's pretty cool. Open the bail, let it drop to the bottom. And this is when Power Pro just came out. That's how long ago. And I could feel it vibrating, and the vibration stopped. And I set the hook, and I caught a fish. And I was like, we're on to something here. This is all right.
You said a while ago that you fished that like.
I'm one vote. We really don't have a big say-so. And personally, I think behind closed doors, walleye fisheries are going to do what they want to do. I'm not a biologist. Doesn't matter if I'm out there 200 days a year, I'm not a biologist. So I don't have credibility in their view. And that's okay. That's okay. I think we're all fighting for the same thing. We just have different ideas on how to get there.
Everybody's all excited, you know?
That shrimp under a corn.
Matter of fact,
Hurts my feelings.
it spoils you if you go. It's just